Hey folks, welcome back to the Western Southerner YouTube channel. So today I'm going to tell you about how I use oil analysis to diagnose a leaking intake manifold gasket on this 1998 K2500 Chevy pickup with a 7.4 liter V8. So the mid to late 90s 5.7 liter V8, that's the old Chevy 350, and the 3.8 liter V6, people call that the 3800. My understanding is that they can have this intake manifold gasket issue as well. So this oil analysis may apply to that as well. Let's take 30 seconds real quick, pop the hood, and go look at the intake manifold. All right, this is a big 7.4 liter V8, 454. All right, so quick and easy. This is called the plenum, right? Underneath that's the intake manifold. That's this thing down here, okay? You have the cylinder heads on either side and then the crankcase below that. So basically the seal down here can leak, and that leads to coolant getting in your oil, which isn't good. If the leak is small, you won't even notice your coolant level dropping. As the leak gets bigger, you will start to see that coolant dropping. Okay, here in a moment, I'll put some screenshots up of this stuff with the highlighted numbers so you can see it yourself. But essentially what happened was we bought this truck and it had 89,000 miles on it, so it was really low miles. We drove it for quite a while, and we actually did an oil analysis in 2022 on this thing in November, and it came back with high levels of copper, potassium, and sodium, okay? And they gave you a little write-up. Ted, thanks for the notes. Harder use could have something to do with the high copper levels, but there's another likely player in the extra wear: coolant. We spotted coolant levels of potassium. We spotted coolant in the levels in the potassium and sodium. The leak is minor enough. We wouldn't be surprised if you aren't noticing coolant loss in the reservoir, but the contamination warrants monitoring all the time. Okay, this indicates copper at 20. It should be at 9. Potassium at 57. It should be at 5, and sodium's at 71. It should be at 35. That was my initial report. So we don't drive this truck a whole lot. I change the oil in about 2,000 mile intervals, right? And I actually dropped some things in the radiator called stop leak tabs. These are things made by General Motors. They're recommended to help stop radiator leaks. They have some really wild ingredients, like spices are in it, like cumin, amongst some other things. They didn't work, obviously. But then I sent in for another oil analysis in May of 2023. The paragraph said, Ted, we're still seeing some coolant in your oil, so the stock leak tab didn't quite do the trick. The good news is you have caught the problem early in this, and as long as it doesn't get significantly worse, the engine should make a full recovery once you're able to actually have the leak fixed, meaning replace the intake manifold gasket. Okay, on this analysis, copper has increased from 20 to 26. Potassium has increased from 57 to 142. And sodium has increased from 71 on the initial analysis to 202 on the next analysis. Now, at this point, I was actually starting to notice a little bit of the coolant drop, right? And that's indicated because my numbers actually show a greater level of potassium and sodium. Okay, so, and then finally in the summer of 2024, last summer, I buckled down, bought the parts, tore down this engine, and took off the intake manifold, put a new gasket on it, put it back together, and then by golly, I did an oil analysis and I fixed it. Here's the summary. Ted, good work. Potassium and sodium are low enough to rule out coolant contamination. So the intake manifold gasket replacement did the trick. Most of the wear metals are lower too, so it looks like the internal components are wearing better now that coolant isn't in the mix. Aluminum shows a nice decrease in piston wear, iron, steel wear, and copper, lead / tin, bronze, and bearing wear. No other contaminants are present. High flash point, yada yada. Great report at 109,000 miles, so took care of it. Okay, folks, so the copper levels are down from 26 to 2. The potassium levels are down from 142 to 9, and the sodium levels are down from 202 to 21. These are all well below the universal average as well, and it's all parts per million. Okay, so the universal averages for copper is 10, for potassium it's 6, and 33 for sodium. If I can find a way to post the whole thing in the info, I will. The company I use to do this oil analysis is called Blackstone Laboratories. I pay for these, you know, they don't sponsor me or anything. And I think it's about $50 for an oil analysis. You know, if you get on the internet and look up their website, you can fill out a thing and then they send you the kit for free. You follow the directions, get a sample of the oil when you're changing your oil, and then send it to them and they give you a big analysis with the write-up on it. I think this is a pretty good trick. I think it can give you peace of mind on what kind of condition your engine's in, and it can make you aware of any issues that could be going on in the engine, like a leaking intake manifold gasket. So I hope this is helpful for someone out there. Hit like and subscribe, and stay tuned. Thanks. Take care.